Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the Polygon network and specifically the 𝗕𝗃 token. We're going to be taking a look to see what's been going on most recently with the price action here after yesterday's pullback and what we might be looking forward to and what to expect kind of next here with 𝗕𝗃. Guys, as we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will not miss another video. Right, let's dive into this TA and what's going on with this brief update for 𝗕𝗃. So obviously this is the hourly chart. This is where we can see a lot of the granular detail of what has been going on. I mean, normally we do focus more on what has been going on with the weekly, the daily, and then we briefly take a look at the hourly. But with what's been going on most recently with 𝗕𝗃, I think it's important that we do acknowledge what's going on with the shorter timeframes and what we could be looking forward to long term, but also what to expect next here with a potential pullback. So what we are talking about here is obviously we can see that there was this triangular wedge, okay, that was forming. This was forming nicely. We were actually gearing up quite nicely here for a good break to the upside as we were gaining a bit of traction. This is when we actually started to see things turn in the market and we started to see a big pullback. This actually then invalidated our upward trend altogether. This is frustrating because our upward trend was incredibly strong. Obviously the breakdown here, even though we did find a brief support level here, it broke down as the entire market did crumble. As a result, we actually lost a pretty significant amount of value, right? We can take a look at this from our high point here as we did start to break out, and we actually start to pull this back down to the to this side here. We can actually see it's a 34% drop for 𝗕𝗃. Now, that is pretty much in line with the majority of altcoins. They all kind of lost around 30 to 36% in that kind of range, and then there was a bit of a bounce back to the upside. So and what we are looking for here is to see what to expect next. Now, there's a couple of interesting things I do want to talk about. First of all, we consolidated around our support level of $1.52 on our journey to the downside. This wasn't able to hold for too long, and we started to fall back down to the downside where we got a bit of a bounce from this area here of $1 and I think it's about $1.10. Sorry, $1.10 is where we bounced from. And from here, what we can do is we can take this Fibonacci retracement and we can actually fire this up and show you where things are currently tracking, because there's a couple of things that we need to talk about that are really interesting. First of all, during this, there's always a bounce, okay? So we basically have that high point where we're rejected from, and then we come crashing down this 30-odd%. We then bounce, and we always bounce up, guys, usually into three areas. One, it's going to be the 618, the 702, or the 786, right? One of those three areas, with the 702 being the most prominent space that we usually go to. In the case of 𝗕𝗃 here, that's exactly where we went to, and we saw the rejection from. Getting rejected from this area, normally, if we're bearish, actually is an indication of lower lows to come, right? But we can see here is actually now we're approaching the same area, back up into the 702, looking to get above our 702 here, getting above the 786 and getting that closed candle. Now, getting the closed candle above the 786 and pushing up head here is basically very bullish, right? That gets the bullish signal, which is why we often talk about these areas being really key areas on our charts. So on this hourly, we're obviously quite concerned that we are not quite there yet. We're approaching the 618, but obviously this is the rejection point where we were at before. The other interesting thing is normally we were actually getting rejected quite early. We come all the way down to our 236. This is the $1.21 area, and then we started to climb up quite nicely from here. Most recently, we can see that we're actually up in the overbought area on our stochastic RSI. So knowing that we're overbought, knowing that we are expecting a small kind of pullback here on the hourly, what should we be preparing for next? Well, we want to make sure that we have good traction with allowing a nice correction to occur, but we don't want to set a lower low. So what we've set so far is we have this low point that was set during the initial crash where we bounced from, and then we went down lower, but not as low. So we actually set a higher low over here. So what we're now looking for is another low to come in, but we want it to be higher than this one over here, okay? So we're looking for a low point to happen in the next kind of pullback, which will be probably in the next few hours. And we want that to be, you know, higher than $1.18. Okay, so that's the area that we're looking for. And if we're able to get that, if we're able to get that closed candle a higher point, that's going to be another bullish tail, because we have this trend line that we can draw on here for 𝗕𝗃, and we can basically say that this is the trend line that we're looking to bounce from. Okay, so even though we are talking about a correction happening here on this small hourly chart, then we're looking to find this bouncing point. Okay, so depending on where this comes in, this is going to be a nice stable support line for us that comes in at $1.27. And if this happens over the next few hours, that there should coincide with our upward trend line. And if that's the bounce, then that's going to take us up to past our 786 area and allowing us to basically put this pullback to rest. And this is important because we are not in a major correction wave, right? We've seen two major correction waves so far during the bull run, right? We obviously have 5 impulse waves for the bull run. This has been identified. Wave 1 is very bullish. It pushes to the upside. Wave 2 is a correction wave. And in the case for most altcoins, that was very flat. We then go into wave 3, which was very bullish, very parabolic. And I think this is where the market really heated up nicely and lots of people were FOMOing in. And then we went into a pretty steep correction 4th wave, right? And that 4th wave took us into Bitcoin lower lows and all that kind of stuff, right? And we're not expecting that 4th wave scenario to happen again here. Instead, we are now a correction wave within the 5th wave to the upside. Okay, so we've started the 5th wave, but every wave in itself would be full of additional waves. So this would be, in theory, the 2nd wave within our 5 impulse waves within the 5th wave. Okay, that seems like a bit of a mouthful, a little bit to get your head around, but ultimately what you're seeing here is a nice natural pullback, although it has been brought on by some manipulation with Bitcoin. Okay. With that being said, again, this would be a short-lived kind of scenario because it's quite sharp, okay? So this sharp correction that we've seen is a nice sharp correction within a 5 impulse wave within the 5th wave to the upside overall. And as a result of this, it means that we should be looking forward in the next little while to a nice push to the upside, which would be the equivalent of a 3rd wave within our 5th wave. And then we look for a slow and steady 4th wave correction before finishing the bull run off with a nice blow at the top. Overall, everything's looking okay, but we're looking to keep this trend line as a part of this correction, okay? And if we're able to do that, then I think 𝗕𝗃 is going to do perfectly fine. Now, when we actually take this up into our daily, this is also another key thing that we want to be paying attention to. If I actually just delete our Fibonacci retracement, so we don't need that one. What we can see here on our daily is a nice correction that now has occurred with our stochastic RSI. This now means that we are going to see a nice significant push back to the upside. The other thing that we have to bear in mind in the case of 𝗕𝗃 is loss of momentum. And basically we can draw a bit of a trend line between our stochastic lines that show there is basically loss of momentum over time. This being said, bringing us down nice and low, we could now start to see a really good run to the upside here as we go into this 5th wave really strongly. So overall, a correction like this is not unusual. It's something that we've seen many times before and something that we'll probably see again time and time again. We take a look at the overall correction from the top end of a few days ago through to where we are today. This does actually come in at that kind of 38% level, which is relatively steep. But we take a look at 𝗕𝗃 and look back at this 5th wave, or sorry, 3rd wave to the upside, right? And we can take a look at where things were previously. And we can also see very significant pullbacks on this journey to the upside. Over a course of a couple of days here, we also dropped an additional 50% just in the middle of the wave 3. So although we are talking about a 38% pullback during this kind of uncertain time, this is not unusual for 𝗕𝗃 in the slightest. It is something that we've seen quite a few times, even on the push to the upside most recently, where we've seen 42,655% in gains. So although we are, uncomfortable in these kind of scenarios, we are still incredibly bullish. Overall, the structure hasn't changed. We are still looking very, very comfortable with pushing back to the upside. We take a look at the weekly chart. If we're ever in doubt on what that looks like, we can obviously see the fantastic run that we currently had in terms of that 42,000% over 434 days and another 590% gains that we're looking to enjoy as we finish this bull run off towards the end of the year, beginning of next year. Overall, this kind of pullback, although can be a little bit alarming for many in the space, is very natural and doesn't bother me in the slightest as long as the structure still stands. So we will be watching that hourly chart, looking for that trend line to hold up and looking to see if the bounce goes down to lower or higher lows than we've had previously, with a good push to the upside overall. Guys, if you have found this brief update on 𝗕𝗃 useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.